Good morning. What day is it? 134. There it is. Day 134 of Read the Bible in a Year. We are reading 2nd Chronicles chapters 23 and 24. It's a little bit later this morning. I decided to sleep in, so my alarm went off at 4:15, and then sometime later than that, sorry, my auto brightness on the telephone here is acting up. Anyways, I got the old coffee in here. Got the Rubik's Cube I was working on last night and then messed it up. So I gotta start over. Anyways, 2nd Chronicles, chapter 23. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada strengthened himself and made a covenant. Gosh, that's good coffee. Sorry. Jehoiada strengthened himself and made a covenant with the commanders of hundreds, Azariah son of Joram, and Ishmael son of Yehohanan, and Azariahu son of Obed, and Maaseyahu son of Adayahu, and Elishaphat son of Zikri. And they went through Judah and gathered the Levites from all the cities of Judah and the chiefs of the fathers of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. And all the assembly made a covenant with the sovereign of the house of Elohim, and he said to them, "See, the son of the sovereign is to reign, as Yahweh has said of the sons of David. This is what you do. 1/3 of you entering on the Sabbath, of the priests and the Levites, gatekeepers." There we go. Darn it. Gatekeepers of the threshold, 1/3 are at the sovereign's house, and 1/3 at the gate of the foundation, while all the people are in the courtyard of the house of Yahweh. Let no one come into the house of Yahweh except the priests and those of the Levites who serve. They go in, for they are set apart, but all the people are to guard the charge of Yahweh. And the Levites shall surround the sovereign on all sides, every man with his weapons in his hand. And whoever comes into the house, let him be put to death, and be with the sovereign when he comes in and when he goes out. And the Levites and all Judah did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded. And each man took his men who were to come in on the Sabbath with those going out on the Sabbath, for Jehoiada the priest did not dismiss the divisions. And Jehoiada the priest gave to the commanders of hundreds the spears and the large and small shields which had been sovereign David's, that were in the house of Elohim. And he set all the people, every man with his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the house to the left side of the house, alongside the slaughter place by the house, all around the sovereign. And they brought out the son of the sovereign, and put on him the diadem and the witness, and set him up to reign. Then Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and said, "Let the sovereign live." And Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the sovereign, and she came to the people in the house of Yahweh, and looked and saw the sovereign standing by his column at the entrance. And the chiefs and the trumpeters were beside the sovereign, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Also the singers with instruments of song and those who led in praise. And Athaliah tore her garments and said, Treason, treason. And Jehoiada the priest brought out the commanders of hundreds who were set over the army and said to them, Take her outside the ranks and slay with the sword whoever follows her. For the priest said, Do not kill her in the house of Yahweh. And they laid hands on her, and she went away to the entrance of the horse gate into the sovereign's house, and they put her to death there. Jehoiada then made a covenant between himself and the people and the sovereign to be the people of Yahweh. And of course, remember yesterday, she took all the sons who could potentially be in line to reign in the line of David and killed them. So this Athaliah was an evil woman. But there was one what was his name? Joash. It's Joash. There was one. It was Joash, who was an infant at the time. So this apparently was time. Time had passed when this had happened. So in the 7th year of Athaliah's reign, because she reigned, he was hidden with them in the house of Elohim for 6 years while Athaliah was reigning over them. So in the 7th year, this is happening. Okay. Just trying to provide a little bit more context there. So this was an evil woman, and they're finally having the gumption to rise up against her and establish the one who was rightfully supposed to be king. And mind you, this kid is 7 years old now, and they're establishing him as the king, probably under some form of mentorship and headship, but still, they're rising up against the unrighteous woman. And verse 16. Jehoiada then made a covenant between himself and the people and sovereign to be the people of Yahweh. And all the people went to the house of Baal and broke it down. They completely broke up its slaughter places and images and killed Matan the priest of Baal before the slaughter places. And Jehoiada put the offices of the house of Yahweh into the hand of the priests and the Levites, whom David had assigned in the house of Yahweh, to offer the ascending offerings of Yahweh as it was written in the Torah of Moshe, with rejoicing and with singing by the hands of David. And he set the gatekeepers at the gates of the house of Yahweh, so that no one who was in any way unclean, should enter. And he took the commanders of hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought the sovereign down from the house of Yahweh, and they went through the upper gate to the sovereign's house, and set the sovereign on the throne of the reign, and all the people of the land rejoiced. And the city had rest, for they had slain Athaliah with the sword. Awesome. Chapter 24. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. And the name of his mother was Zibiah of Beersheba. And Joash did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh all the days of Jehoiada the priest. And Jehoiada took for him 2 wives, and he brought forth sons and daughters. And after this it came to be that Joash set his heart on restoring the house of Yahweh. And he gathered the priests and the Levites and said to them, Go out to the cities of Judah, and gather from all Israel silver to repair the house of your Elohim from year to year, and see that you hurry the matter. But the Levites did not hurry it. And the sovereign called to Jehoiada the chief and said to him, Why have you not required the Levites to bring in from Judah and from Jerusalem the levy of Moshe, the servant of Yahweh, and of the assembly of Israel for the tent of the witness? For the sons of Etheliahu, that wronged woman, had broken into the house of Elohim, and had also prepared all the set-apart vessels of the house of Yahweh to the Baals. So the sovereign commanded, and they made a chest and set it outside the gate of the house of Yahweh, and made it known in Judah and in Jerusalem to bring to Yahweh the levy that Moshe, the servant of Elohim, had imposed on Israel in the wilderness, and on all the rulers and all the people, and rejoiced. And they brought in and put them into the chest to completion. And it came to be at that time, when the chest was brought to the sovereign's official by the hand of the Levites, and when they saw there was much silver, that the sovereign scribe and the high priest's officer came and emptied the chest, and took it and returned it to its place. So they did day by day, and gathered a large amount of silver. And the sovereign and Jehoiada gave it to those who did the work of the service of the house of Yahweh, and they hired stonemasons and carpenters to restore the house of Yahweh, and also those who worked in iron and bronze to repair the house of Yahweh. And the workmen labored, and the work of restoration progressed in their lands, and they established the house of Elohim to its proper form, and strengthened it. When they had finished, they brought the rest of the silver before the sovereigns and Jehoiada, and they made utensils from it for the house of Yahweh, utensils for serving and offering, ladles and vessels of gold and silver, and they offered ascending offerings in the house of Yahweh continually all the days of Jehoiada. And Jehoiada was old and satisfied with days, and died, 130 years old when he died. And they buried him. That's interesting, because, even back then, the fathers said a man's years will be 120 years. But Jehoiada the priest, hundreds of years later, died at 130. And of course, David wrote, a man's years are 70. A man's years are promised to be 70, and by manner of strength 80 years. So this was a strong, blessed man to live to the age of 130. And of course, naturally, he was a righteous man, head over the priests of all the house of the Father. Verse 16, and they buried him in the city of David among the sovereigns, for he had done good in Israel, both toward Elohim and his house. He was a revered man. And after the death of Jehoiada, the rulers of Judah came and bowed themselves to the sovereign, and the sovereign listened to them. And they forsook the house of Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, and served the Asherim, and the wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem because of their trespass. Wow. And he sent prophets to them to bring them back to Yahweh, and they witnessed against them, and they did not listen. Then the spirit of Elohim came upon Zechariah, son of Jehoiada the priest, who stood above the people, and said to them, Thus said Elohim, Why are you transgressing the commands of Yahweh and do not prosper? Because you have forsaken Yahweh, he has forsaken you. and they conspired against him. And at the command of the sovereign, they stoned him with stones in the courtyard of the house of Yahweh. Thus Joash the sovereign did not remember the love and commitment which Jehoiada his father had done to him, and killed his son. And as he died, he said, Yahweh does see and repay. Wow. Joash, that's a far departure, bro. Verse 23, and it came to be at the turn of the year that the army of Aram came against him, and they came into to Judah and Jerusalem, and destroyed all the rulers of the people from among the people, and sent all their spoil to the sovereign of Darmasek. For the army of Aram, For the army of Aram came with few men, but Yahweh gave a very great army into their hand, because they had forsaken Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, so they executed judgment against Joash. And when they had withdrawn from him, for they left him very sick, his own servants conspired against him because of the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest, and killed him on his bed, and he died. They buried him in the city of David, but they did not bury him in the burial sites of the sovereigns. That seems to be consistent. They're like, you don't deserve to be buried here with these guys. These guys were too great. You were terrible. And these are the ones who conspired against him: Zabad, the son of Shemath, the Ammonitess, and Jehozabad, the son of Shimrith, the Moabitess. Oh, the Ammonitess and the Moabitess, there you go. As to his sons, and the many words about him and rebuilding of the house of Elohim, see, they are written in the commentary of the book of the sovereigns. And Amaziahu, his son, reigned in his place. I find very consistently this one theme happening, where one man dies that seems to be holding it all together. And then once he dies, a spin of unrighteousness happens. Every time. Why does it fall down to one man? See, that's the power of one man. Are you that kind of man? That's a powerful thought. And I'll leave you with it. Shalom.